Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Morning, Nina.
Morning.
Sawadika, those in Thailand.
Ik had een moeilijke tijd met COVID-vaccinatie. Uren en uren aan de telefoon. En toen weer, en toen kon de chauffeur niet. En toen moest ik weer. Weinig vrije tijd over deze week.
Did you have a vaccine yet, Nina?
What is it?
Did you have a vaccine yet?
Gevaccineerd. Of je gevaccineerd bent.
Nee, ik moet afspraken moest ik maken. En toen hadden ze het verkeerd doorgegeven. En toen was het weer fout.
Je praat in het Nederlands, Nina.
Oh ja, well, I had to make an appointment and then it was the driver couldn't and I had to go again and then they didn't get the right date and they make a mistake. All the time there was something.
Sorry to hear that. Ajahn, are you here now?
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคน
Sawadika.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Sawadika, everyone.
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์ค่ะ Good afternoon, everybody.
Would you like to start with any question or topic, Nina?
Okay. Well, you can have some longing for direct understanding, but all the time, Ajahn repeated so often, all the time, beyond expectation, so often. I found that a good reminder that we cannot expect anything. And then also she said, just be alone, no one there at moment of hardness. And also that was a very good reminder.
Yes, and I think when she was talking about being alone, we also discussed how, while there's the taking anything for pleasant or unpleasant, we're always torturing ourselves with ignorance and attachment.
Yes,
because
and then,
it's all gone.
Relief of a burden when there is
Yes.
more understanding and you less, as you say, less torture.
I was also impressed at the end when Maeve had told her story about even pleasant reminiscences about the past and how it all has to be let go. It's all the burden too, even the pleasant memories, because it's more and more clinging and forgetting about reality at this very moment. Because usually we think, well, when there's a lot of regret or unpleasant memories, okay, it's obvious to be let go of. But even when it's pleasant memories about how we all met before or how we had wonderful discussions in Vietnam or something, but it's a burden because the clinging is there. So it's all gone. So always back to this moment.
Yeah, and letting go, she stresses a lot to let go. I find that very good.
When we understand, we can let go.
John, Sarah, and Thanachan, everyone. I've talked about this topic 2 weeks ago, but I still have just not clear yet. When I talk about like the colorblind or someone who like eyesight problem because of problem in Pasatha, Roop, and different karma. But I want to understand that like particular visible object that being experienced like for in a moment, like if I see a tree and I say the leaf is green, it has to have a particular visible object that has its own characteristic that cannot be changed, because each Paramatma Dhamma have its own appropriate condition to be what it is each moment. So when we say like, if suppose there's pleasant visible object, you can't change that to unpleasant visible object. Dhamma cannot change its characteristic. So when we say that someone sees blue or red and all that, I know that these are thinking, but what that perceive, it has to be the particular visible object that has its own characteristic that cannot be changed, right? Because you saying that karma may alter, I'm not sure what that means, but because Dhamma has its own characteristic each moment. Like you can't, for example, taste sweet, you can't change to salty or what.
It's true that whatever visible object, it is the way, and the visible object seen now is different from the visible object a moment ago, and it depends on what conditioned it at this very moment, the other rupas, and whether it's conditioned by temperature and what temperature and so on. But the point is that it's still just the characteristic of visible object that is seen. It's just visible object. So as soon as we start to talk about the one that is seen by the colorblind person and the one that is this color or this shape or that shape, it is thinking about the story of visible object and forgetting about understanding just what is seen at this moment, because it doesn't matter what visible object it is, whether it's desirable or undesirable object. In any way, it can't be known now. So no matter what it is, it's just that which is seen. And it's a distraction to think, well, the visible object that's seen now by the one that's visible object that is colorblind is different from the one with good eyesight or bad eyesight and so on, because we forget that it is just visible object itself, which can be understood directly at this moment. It's thinking about the nimitta, the anupyanjana, the details, different from being aware, understanding just what appears at this moment.
But I think maybe you maybe like okay, green and all that is thinking. I understand it's later on. Like for example, someone who's born and blind, whether you explain about him what is visible object, that person cannot have an idea about visible object and what I see as green and all that. It had to have certain Paramatma to think like that. Like I won't say I see a leaf and I would say it's a pink color or brown and all that. It has its own characteristic that cannot be changed and make me thinking like that. So you do understand where I'm trying to coming from, right?
Not really, because you've said a number of times that each visible object has its own characteristic, its own particular characteristic. That is not correct. Different visible objects do not have different characteristics. So what they each have is the characteristic of being visible object, and that is always the same. The characteristic, the inherent characteristic of every instance of visible object is the same. So we can't say they each have an individual characteristic.
No. The point I'm making is like, for example, hard or soft. You can't change, like at the moment, let's say about Namadhamma, angry. If there's moment to for so much anger to arise, at that moment, it cannot change to have less anger and moment, but later on is a different condition, is different moment already. Each moment, what I mean to say that each moment has appropriate condition to be like that as Dhamma, nature, and each moment are different. I know that, but then...
Like we can say now at the moment of touching, the tangible object touched is just as it is. So we can say sometimes it's a harder kind of hardness, and sometimes it's softer, sometimes it's this way or that way. But at the moment of touching, it's just that which is touched, and that is what can be known. So when we start, as soon as we start thinking about the harder one or the softer one or the one that is in between, it's not the understanding of just what appears. And when we're talking about the development of understanding of the path, it's the understanding of what appears right now. Otherwise, we just think long stories about the different kinds of visible objects and the different kinds of hardness and what it would be like for the one who's colorblind, or what it's like for the one who is half blind or 3/4 blind. But even like in darkness, when there's no color appearing, it's still visible object that is appearing at that moment, even though because there's no light, there's no color. So it's still just that which is visible, different from the impression, the idea about the color and the shape. So the point of the path of the teachings is the understanding of just what appears now, no matter what word or name we use. And actually at the moment of understanding, there is no word, no name, no thinking about green or orange or anything else. It's just that which appears.
And Archie, what is your understanding of the characteristic of visible object?
Characteristic is that it's a visible object. You can't change visible object to sound or like that. It has its own, it is Dhamma.
Could you be a bit more specific? Because that's a very roundabout. You've said the characteristic of visible object is that it's just visible object.
Yeah.
Can't be changed. But what is that characteristic?
Again, please,
What is that characteristic specifically? Because you've just given a roundabout definition. You're saying characteristic of visible object is just visible object. Can you be more specific? What is the characteristic of sound, for example?
Sound is sound.
Can you be a bit more specific than that?
How to be more specific than that?
Well, I think the characteristic of sound is that it impinges on the ear base and can be experienced by ear consciousness. And so likewise for visible object, its characteristic is that it impinges on the eye base and can be experienced by the eye consciousness. Right? So what is your question then about visible object?
I know I may talk about like thinking and story, but what I'm trying to say that like certain like certain Paramattha Dhamma, like even they Dhamma is variety. Like,
no, come on, please get back to your original question. What is your question about visible object?
Visible object is that can pinch eye base and can be seen. That only can be seen. No other rupa can be seen or anything.
Right. So what's the question?
I know it's maybe like, okay, can we talk maybe if I give maybe not in eye way but in taste, maybe taste doorway.
So what is the characteristic of taste?
That it can pinch the taste, chiuha rupa, pasata rupa.
Well, the characteristic of taste will be that it impinges on the tongue base and can be experienced by the tongue consciousness.
Yeah.
That's its characteristic.
Yeah,
anything else is just part of the nimitta and anupyanchana.
Yeah, I know, because everything is so fast. We know we are living in the world of nimitta. But my question is, you understand where I'm trying to coming from, right? Certain Paramattha Dhamma can like there has condition to be that way. At that moment, it has to be that way. Different moment, it changed because another that is different moment. That is different condition.
They change according to nimitta and anupyanchana, not according to characteristic.
No. I'm not saying the characteristic change. I'm saying that each moment are different. It's not like seeing now is not seeing before. Like.
But the point is that the taste, no matter it's the salty taste or the sweet taste or whatever taste, it's still just taste, just that which is tasted at that moment. So the understanding is just of the taste. No matter what taste it is, it's still just taste.
But whatever, okay.
Let's see if Ajahn would like to add more to your question or concern.
Okay. We don't talk about words, but we talk about what is there now, right? Is there anything now?
Yes, I can't hear you very clearly, Ajahn.
Okay. We are talking about that which appears now, right? In order to understand the nature of it. Otherwise, it's only the idea about that which is called visible object or color or whatever. But now we're talking about that which is now appearing to understand the truth of it. So no idea at all about that, right? No thinking, but it's there to be known. It's real, right? Because it's there. But if it does not arise, can it be there right now? That's why learn to understand what is now at this very moment. And we don't have to call it anything, visible object or that. But that which is there is a reality, different from other reality. It's not that which is heard at all. And it's not hard. It's not sweet, but it's that a reality. Can that be you or thing? And this is the way to understand what is meant by no one, no thing, only a reality which has its own nature as it is. It cannot be changed at all. So is that color be your father?
No.
Thing? This is the way to learn to understand little by little the absolute truth of what is there. But what is not known is the moment when it arises and falls away. But from the enlightenment of the Buddha, he taught about the absolute truth of whatever is there as no one and no thing. It has its own characteristic that which can be seen only through that which sees it. And life is just like this from moment to moment, no one and no thing. And that can lead to the direct understanding with direct awareness later, from confidence about the truth, from hearing and considering wisely, on and on and on, no expectation, because the understanding of the anothernness of what appears by conditions, even thinking, like, dislike, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, all are no one at all. Only that to be known in life. But it's hard because there is the idea of self accumulated from eons and eons ago. Even the word about the truth, it's there by conditions. It arises, otherwise it cannot appear. All are the words of truth. But the idea of something so very deep-rooted, that's why it needs the words of the Buddha, each word, to support the understanding, to have more confidence. And this is a way to letting go that which is taken for something from life to life. Very natural. It's now. And it takes quite a long, long time to understand its truth, that it's only that which is in very shortly and then it's gone, no more. And this is the Ariya Satya, the Four Noble Truth. And the path is this moment of understanding, from letting go the wrong understanding to try to know to try to attain, to try to get such understanding, which is impossible by ignorance. It has to be from understanding, moment to moment, little by little. And this is such a respected truth. Panya, no one, but it is the understanding from hearing and considering from the very beginning to keep on knowing that it does not appear as just that which is seen. For sure, it takes time, but from understanding the moment when it's not there, when it's thinking or hearing, it's not that which is there, as it is, arising and falling away. But the truth can be directly experienced, but not from anyone, but from the panya of that degree. So now letting go the idea of self is there by conditions, and the truth does not appear as it is yet, because it's only the beginning to understand the truth of it. This is the subtlety of the reality, as Buddha said, after his enlightenment. All dhammas are very subtle, so we have to understand the subtleness of the subtlety of that which now appear, but not as it is. But panya begins to understand the truth, to let go the idea of something, because we have heard that it's nothing, it cannot be anything, because it's only that which can impinge on the eye base. So how can the tree, the table impinge on it? It's only that which appears, but not as it is. But what appears is only the image of that which arises and falls away, which can be seen as such and such. But the absolute truth is there, no one and no thing in it. So it can be any moment, beginning to understand, little by little, and can be moment of thinking about the truth, more than just once, more than just 100, but the absolute truth is how much understanding of letting go, the idea of something, so that can appear to direct awareness and understanding the truth of it as it is. And that is meant by Ariya Satya, the absolute truth, no one there at all. So it's not just think so much about it, but to understand it is here and now it appears, but panya is not enough to understand the truth of it yet. But from hearing again and again, more confidence of letting go. Only when it is the moment of letting go on and on, so the reality can appear as it is. Because lopa is there, ignorance is there, hinder the truth, covered up the truth, hinder the understanding of the truth because of attachment, just wanting to know or just wanting to experience it as it is. But it's impossible. Panya is not strong enough to let go things and I and people all around, as actually it's only that which can be seen. Different world, quite different worlds from now. Because it's the world of understanding just one reality at a time. Be patient, more confidence, letting go. Only understanding develops from moment to moment as natural, by conditions only. Anatta begins to show up all the way, little by little, from the beginning to the end.
So, Ajahn, can we say that if it's not the study of what appears one at a time, it is thinking about things, about people, and if it is wanting to know, then it is missing the point of studying Dhamma?
As long as it is not direct awareness with understanding, supported from the intellectual understanding enough to understand that, to let go what is there as something. But in the beginning, satipatthana or direct awareness is so very weak. It cannot experience directly the truth of the arising and falling away, or understand the characteristic which cannot experience and that which experiences as no one. It's the beginning of pierce or approach the characteristic as no one, little by little, not as a thing, but as it is hard. That's why only when it appears, it can be object of understanding. Otherwise, it's the object of thinking about its truth. That's why the question is whether we have leg, arms now. See, it's not there. But the idea is there as I, with parts of the body. But actually, Dhamma is Dhamma, hardness is hardness. It appears as no one and no thing. Even right now, see, it is hard, but understanding is not enough to let go my finger or a table. So it depends on the development of panya only to let go even the idea of I think, I understand, or I do not understand. All are dhammas. Remember that all are dhammas. Whatever is there in the day, all are dhammas. Depending on how much understanding is there to understand it. It's just like any reality, conditioned to arise. Without condition, it cannot arise. That the moment of understanding it, it's conditioned as well, stage by stage. So natural but so deep, so subtle. Because what is now appearing, arising and falling away. And even so, that which can be directly understood is the nimitta of a particular reality. At moment of understanding the certainty of reality, the profoundness of reality right now is the right path. That's why I understand the words of the Buddha clearer and clearer from understanding the truth. Same word, but understanding developed stage by stage. For example, respect. The three gems, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha was meant. No understanding is at respect without any understanding, and didn't see the profoundness of the teachings is that respect to the teachings and to the Buddha. See, one has to be so very truthful. Satya parami only can lead one to understand the profoundness of the reality right now. Very subtle, don't forget that, because not any reality appears as it is at all. Even that which is seen does not appear as it is, but it always appears as something, someone there. So the truth is hidden, covered up. Ignorance and attachment is there. So it leads to another object, not understand the moment of the arising and falling away of whatever, what can be directly experienced by conditions. If it is as one expects, it's wrong. But whatever appears is unexpectedly. That is the anatthaness. Seeing right now, see, hearing, thinking, hardness, whatever is there. Dhammas all day, all life. See, this is the way to understand Dhamma. The truth is now, and it cannot be known without the words of the Buddha. That's why consider the truth of each word. And knows that Panya develops moment to moment, unknowingly, gradually, from this moment on. From yesterday on to this moment, from previous day on up to this moment.
Ajahn, I had a question from someone about the goal of listening. The other person thought the goal is less attachment to nama and rupa. But I always learned that it is first less attachment to the idea of self. So I found this a good point for discussion.
So it depends on what subject or topic we would talk about. For example, there is feeling like now, right now, say, feeling. Who knows it? Who thinks about it? Say, no understanding at all, even it's there. But when we begin to talk about feeling, it's real. It is different from moment to moment. At moment of seeing, just moment of seeing, it cannot be pleasant or unpleasant at all, because it's conditioned by agama, which conditions that very moment of seeing that particular object. See, only a moment, no understanding of whatever it is, only that which appears because it can see only that object. How can it condition pleasant feeling? See, it's indifferent feeling. That's why no one knows about the feeling at moment of seeing, because it's gone instantly. But when the feeling is different from indifferent feeling, such as pleasant feeling, even a little, of unpleasant feeling, is there to be known. But as I say, as before, until there is the understanding of that, which just rests by conditions and gone, not forever at all. It is the beginning of understanding the impermanence of that which is there. But right understanding is not strong enough yet to know that it's not there forever. It seems like it's just there for times, and then later it can arise again. But at that moment, it's not the understanding of that which is conditioned to arise, but the idea of self is there, sometimes pleasant with pleasant feeling, and sometimes with unpleasant feeling. See, always I. The truth is the truth, and Panya is brave enough, courageous enough to understand the truth, to respect the truth, that it has to be such as it is, and begin to letting go that I can do something, or it's I, or someone try to have pleasant feeling, but all depends on conditions. Each moment is different by conditions, but we take the whole situation as I experiences such and such. But actually, what about just a moment? Who can condition that to arise? Who can make it arise? Impossible. That's why it has to be just understanding a reality of any moment by conditions. No choice. Beyond expectation, what would be the next moment? But no thought about it. It seems like it doesn't matter as long as I sit here, see. But what about that which arises and falls away all the time at this moment? Seeing, hearing, thinking, liking, disliking, pleasant, unpleasant, see. By conditions, all are unknown until the words of truth to be respected of the truth that is so true. No one knows self to do anything to control it or to make it arise. And this is the way to let go little by little, because of understanding the truth of whatever is there as it is conditioned. Life goes easier.
So, Ajahn, the goal is to understand. So, Ajahn, the goal of Dhamma study is just to understand what appears, isn't it?
What appears is that what Buddha taught.
And if there's no understanding of what appears, we can call it nama or rupa, or namas or rupas. If there's no understanding of seeing, that sees now, or what is seen now, the visible object, how can there be any less attachment to the idea of self? So there cannot be the beginning of giving up the idea of clinging to the idea of self if there's no understanding of Dhamma now, of realities as they are now, those realities which can experience an object like seeing and hearing, and those realities which cannot experience anything like visible object and sound. So the beginning of understanding realities as they are is the beginning of understanding that they are just dhammas, no self, no thing there. And it is that understanding that leads to very gradual giving up of the idea of self, the clinging to that self.
Nina, there are many different ways to think about the goal, either in terms of less attachment or, as Shukin has said, as more understanding. There are different aspects of the same thing. And one could also consider that the attachment to the idea of self is eradicated at the first stage of enlightenment, but still there is more work to be done. So there's a near goal and there's a far goal also.
Yes.
So I think it all depends on how one is considering it at the moment. But I think in broad terms, we can say to understand what is appearing at the present moment better and better.
As no self, because people think at once, oh, the goal must be less attachment to all realities, all namas and rupas.
Yes, but understanding takes its own time there are different aspects to understanding, right? There's understanding of the characteristic of say, visible object as opposed to eye consciousness. And there's understanding of the anicca or dukkha or anatta characteristic also. And all these things, and there's a letting go and there's sense of urgency, all of which are different aspects of understanding. And we can't say that one has to precede the other, as far as I can see. Understanding develops in its own way at its own pace. But Ajahn emphasizes a lot the understanding of no self, which is very important because this is the unique part of the teaching that other teachings don't contain.
As you say, in its own pace, in its own way, that is very good.
Ajahn, at the end of the session a couple of days ago, the Vietnamese session, Tam Bak, who I can see is here, or I did see she was here, asked me a question about Salayatana and whether it's different from the usual meaning of ayatana, because we know that ayatana means the meeting or the associating of different realities together, the inner and outer ayatanas. And I said that when I read about Salayatana in Paticca Samuppada, I understand it as referring to not just the inner ayatanas, but the pairs of ayatanas, because there cannot be the meeting of eye sense without visible object and without citta, without cetasika. So all the ayatanas are included when we read about Salayatana. Is there anything you can add that would be helpful for Tom on this question?
The number and understand what's meant by ayatana. See, it's all right, because even right now is the eye sense ayatana, it's seeing ayatana, it's visible object ayatana. See, if we understand what's meant by ayatana, it doesn't matter what number is there. It can be 6 or 12. See, when we think about that which is the object of seeing right there too. And what about number of Dhamma ayatana, cetasikas are there. Each one is ayatana because it has to be there, the meeting point. Otherwise, there cannot be the arising of seeing right now, or even thinking, or whatever is there. A reality cannot arise alone, but it depends on what we're talking about, what way, or the vara of experiences. Or even when there's no dvara, citta and cetasika arises together, it has to be their meeting point too. But since there's no seeing, it doesn't need any explanation about that. But when we understand what's meant by the term or the word ayatana, it has to be there, because there must be the heart base and other rupas, but at the moment of seeing, it's not there. What are there? Ayatana. See?
Yes, and I think that I also mentioned, so when we mention Passa, for example, it's also ayatana, but when it's referred to how, because of there is the meeting of the ayatanas, it conditions Passa, it just depends on the emphasis at the different points of the different links. Tam, is there anything else on this point that you would like to ask about, or is that all okay?
So somewhere we can we can read about Passayatana, Vedanayatana, Sanyayatana, everything.
Yes. So it just depends on the emphasis, but the start is understanding that when we talk about ayatana, it always has to refer to the meeting of the different realities. So no matter it says salayatana or how many, it's the understanding has to be there.
Sarah, recently I've read all the files classified under the title of Ayatana in Dhamma study group, yeah? And I do not understand, I couldn't understand the meaning of meeting place. How can you say that the classifying of realities in terms of ayatana refer to the meeting place?
I think it just means each one is the one that meets or associates together. So ayatana means the meeting place, because at the moment of seeing, there is the coming together, there is the associating or meeting of eye sense, the visible object which is impinged on eye sense, the citta which sees, and the cetasikas which have to meet, have to arise together with seeing at that moment. So like the balancing on the head of a needle point, at this very moment of seeing, there is the meeting of different dhammas just for that instant and then gone. the seeing falls away, the Chaitasikas fall away, the eye sense, the visible object, they all fall away. So there is that meeting or association just for that instant. And that's the meaning of ayatanas.
For me, it's a very odd classification of realities because I can understand doorways. It's very straightforward. But for instance, just to recognize, or not recognize, to perceive a visual object here, there must be 4 ayatanas. That is Chakku and Rupa and Mano and Dhamma.
Right.
And also what I do not understand is why concept is not included in ayatanas.
Because concept is not a reality. Concepts don't arise. They are just thought about or imagined. So when we're talking about the ayatanas, we're talking about the association, the meeting of different realities in order for this moment, this experience now to be just as it is, for this visible object that is seen now to be seen right now. So only realities arise to meet, to associate. That's why concepts are not included at all.
But when we talk about dwaras, doorways,
yes,
then Javana chittas can have concept as their object.
Yes, concepts can be experienced. They can be the aramana. They can be aramana pachaya for thinking, but they are not realities that can arise and meet or associate. Just like when we talk about dhatus or elements, it is just talking about realities, because only realities are elements, not concepts. Or when we're talking about khandhas, we're just talking about the arising and falling away of realities, so concepts not included. So that's why we have to understand each word. So if we're talking about Dhamma Ramana, the different objects experienced through the mind door, then concepts are included, because there can be experiencing of concepts through the mind door. But if we're talking about ayatanas, has to be the meeting of the realities which have arisen at that instant.
Yeah, in terms of the doorway, when there is Dvipancha Vijnana, for instance, when there is a seeing, seeing object, it's a occurrence of one moment, it's a reality of one moment. And it's very clear. It's conducted by Chakvinyana. But when we talk about aramana, we need Chak aramana and Rupa aramana and Mano aramana and Dhamma aramana. Why just to describe our occurrence of one moment of seeing? Why do we need 4 aramanas, 4 ayatanas?
Right, not aramana, only ever one aramana at any moment. But it really shows how this moment now is conditioned to be just the way it is. No self can direct or control or make it happen. Seeing now can only occur because there is the association at this very moment of the visible object that's impinged on the eye sense and Chaitasikas to support the arising of the citta also. So it doesn't matter whether we call them ayatanas or anything else, but it shows the fine balancing or meeting together of different realities arising by different conditions, and no one there, no thing there, and then gone instantly.
But I still understand the sort of sense of meeting place and contact. Phassa seems to be emphasized in describing ayatanas, but I cannot understand how phassa plays an important role when people are talking about when realities are classified of in terms of ayatana.
At the moment of seeing of visible objects, so phassa is an ayatana. It's included in dhammayatana, and it depends on what object, what visible object phassa contacts as to what is seen at this very moment. So this is why phassa is emphasized, and why in Paticca Samuppada, which I was just mentioning, why it mentions about because of the ayatanas, phassa arises. Actually, it's at the same moment of seeing, but it is conditioned for what seeing will see at that very moment.
Okay, so going back to the original question of mine, yeah? What is the significance of classifying realities in terms of ayatana?
To show that they are not self, to show that there is just the meeting together of different realities arising by their own conditions, and how seeing at this very moment can only arise because the visible object is impinged on the eye sense, and phassa and other cetasikas are performing their functions. So no one can choose or select what is seen. It just depends on association of these dhammas at this very moment. So whatever we read about, it doesn't matter whether it's about dwaras or dhatus or khandhas or ayatanas, it's just to show that realities are not self at this moment.
Yeah, khandhas and dhatu are much easier to understand. Ayatana is very difficult to understand. For instance, why mano ayatana and dhamma ayatana are separated. Chitta and cetasika are separated.
They're different realities. Chitta is one kind of reality, which is the leader in experience. For example, at a moment of seeing, seeing is the leader in experiencing the visible object. And the cetasikas are different realities, each one performing their functions, but they have to arise together, condition each other by sahajata paccaya, supporting each other to experience the object. There cannot be citta without cetasikas and vice versa.
Yeah, but they are nama dhammas, and despite the fact that they are nama dhammas, one group is called inner ayatana, and the other group is called outer ayatana. And I do not somehow have a feeling of the inner and outer.
I think it's enough to just know and consider that citta is leader. It's like it's the innermost or the heart.
Yeah.
Hadya, another word for citta, the heart of the experience, the leader of the experience. And in this sense, it's the innermost. But when I read words like the inner and outer, if it doesn't make sense, or I just leave it, because the point is to understand what appears now, not to be too bogged down by different terms that may make sense later, but may not be so obvious now.
Okay, thank you.
Perhaps Ajahn may add more.
What is the question about, Kuntadao?
The significance of ayatana. Why do I have to think realities in terms of ayatana? That's my main question.
Understand that citta cannot be cetasika. They are different. So can they be the same ayatana?
No, they are different ayatanas.
And by way of inner and outer, what is the innermost?
Yeah, I cannot understand the meaning of innermost.
Because it has to be there, no matter how many Cetasikas are arising with it. But Chitta is there as the innermost, never go away. But the other Cetasikas just arise and fall away by conditions, different time, different moment.
Oh, okay. I've got some sense. So chittas are more important than cetasikas.
By way of experiencing the object only.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got some sense. But classification of realities in terms of ayatana is understanding it is not as easy as those classified in terms of doorways, and that ayatana is very difficult. And how I can apply the knowledge or some understanding of ayatana to application of sati and panya.
You can't apply anything to Tao. No one can apply anything. Like you say, it is subtle, the understanding, and it's the understanding that conditions the
I'd like to apply,
sati. But if one has the idea, I just try to work out these details. I just try to get it clear exactly what the different visible objects are and then apply it. It's the wrong approach.
Okay.
So don't think of trying to apply it.
Okay.
Consider and let understanding develop and work its way.
Okay.
Otherwise, we go wrong again trying to have sati.
I will stay at Nama and Rupa level. It's clear now. Thank you very much. If there is any other questions, I'd like to ask Kun Sujin what aging is. Because is it concept or realities, or is it related with only rupa, or it's related with both rupa and nama?
Are there different things or just one only?
Different.
So, what? Chitta cannot be Cetasikas. Cetasika cannot be Chitta. They're different.
And how these are related with aging? Can we see aging in Chitta or Cetasika or in Rupa?
Say it again, please.
We are getting older, yeah? And I'd like to know the meaning of aging, getting old, in terms of realities. I wonder whether aging, getting old, is only related with Rupa, or it's related with both Rupa and Nama.
We have to understand just one reality at a time. If nothing which arises doesn't fall away at all, can it change the appearance?
In a long term, yeah,
yes,
we can see that an individual is getting older.
Okay, let's talk about the sun. Is it old?
Yeah, it's getting older.
Can it appear? Today it's older than yesterday.
Yeah. We can say that.
That's the way it is, by conditions.
Mm-hmm.
If one just born for 2 days and dies, is it all enough? Or not all yet? Or what? The appearance does not appear at once, but it takes time for changing by different conditions.
So can we not see aging mean that the process of aging cannot be seen?
It depends on different realities. For example, a diamond, see, can you see that it's getting old each moment?
Not each
Or the
moment.
tree and flowers, depending on Uttu as well.
Yeah.
There are many conditions for each reality to appear, to arise, and fall away too.
Yeah. So does it mean that we need not worry about aging? It's just a concept.
What about the citta? Is it old as rupa, or just exactly the same, or more attachment, clinging, kilesa? See, will it die as rupa, like rupa? No. See, so what it's meant by the time when it's long enough, we say that it's not as at the beginning. Only that.
So are you suggesting that we need not worry about aging, so-called aging, in a conventional sense?
Just, it's different from the beginning, that's all. Sometimes the chair, which is old as 200 years, does not appear as it's old, like the new one, when it's used, or wear away by winters and atmosphere situation.
Ajahn, it seems this topic about aging, so far what I've heard is comes down to just conventional observation. In terms of when we try to talk in terms of reality, it becomes a bit confusing because each rupa is different. So, and we can understand in principle that different rupas are conditioned by Madhya Mahabhuta rupas and derived rupas. So they make each rupa is different because of different combination of rupas, so to speak. But when we talk about aging, isn't it actually just a conventional observation?
The appearance too of that which can appear.
But appear as compared to what? I mean, what I call old age in the say in anyone around, in any person, it's just thinking based on past memory. But if it's no past memory, then there's no idea of aging.
It's only just thinking about everything in different ways. For example, seeing right now, is it old, aging? That visible object is one.
It's just another seeing. So
But,
is rupa. It's another rupa.
but the moment when it arises and the moment when it falls away, right? The beginning.
Yes, that I understand. I understand when we are talking about aging in with respect to different khanas. I mean, like the moment of rising is not the same as the moment of falling away and in between. That I understand. That's one meaning of aging. But when we talk about aging as in the sun yesterday and the sun today is not the same. It seems to be a different thing.
Can you tell a person how old he is or she is?
From just memory of what I've seen before.
Only Banjati, see?
Yes.
So it's only the idea.
So it's just the idea, yeah.
I would say, I agree, Sukin, it's just an idea, but it's also an inevitable aspect of life. So everything ages. That can't be denied. It can never be otherwise.
Because we use the term minute and years to tell how old it is. But what about the appearance? Visakha Mikarabanda, who knows how old she was? She didn't look like an old lady, see? So what happened?
But as you say, if it's passing 1 minute, it must be older. But what is that it? We are not talking about a whole, because that's just thinking. And we're talking about new rupas all the time. So what is aging? I still don't understand.
It is getting a moment closer to death.
Who knows when will death come? Only thinking. So what is the actual meaning of aging?
The actual meaning, I should say, that is anything that rises and falls away must
Before it's gone, has to age.
Because before it's aged, that's what
Nama
is
or
mean.
rupa.
Right.
When you say age, it's only about rupa, right? Because when the moment rupa arises, and it's not the moment, the four lakkhana roop, if I remember, but the chitta is not. It's just moment of arise and stay and fall away.
Even so, the moment of what you refer to as staying, the mid-moment, is different from the arising moment. It's on its way to falling away. So there is aging of each nama and each rupa. As soon as it's arisen, it has to age and fall away.
It's also getting closer to Chuti Chitta, at the moment of Chuti Chitta.
But we're talking about the sun also aging, it's not Chuti.
Well, I was just commenting on Archie's observation that it only refers to Rupa.
Okay. I didn't hear the full.
So it's referred to chitta also, nama?
Well, it can be seen, as I said, if you think of aging as the progress, if you like, towards death, then it can, in that sense, it can apply to nama also.
But actually, when we say it's just when we say age, right? The same when we say four moment, right? Moment of arising, develop, then old, and then falls away. But it's still the same rupa at that moment. But chitta, we don't classify like that. Although arise, stay, and fall away, but we don't classify as aging.
It doesn't matter at all, because we can talk about the three parts of each chitta, divided into three parts or even more. And it means that as soon as chitta arises, it has to fall away. So there has to be, between the arising and falling away, it is aging, no matter what it's called. So any conditioned reality, because it arises, has to age and fall away. So in the ultimate sense, the aging of each is part of the nature of each conditioned reality, no matter what word you use.
So when we say that like Chitta and Chaitasika arise, then stay, then falls away, already is aging in from arise to stay and then to fall.
Between arising and falling away, it is aging, or however it's called. And even the conventional idea of aging is on account of countless cheetahs which have arisen and aged and fallen away. That's why we come to have this idea of aging. If there were no realities, there wouldn't be the conventional idea of aging.
I have another question. I was discussing this with my father. I was watching just on YouTube how honey was made, and it come to my mind that when we human take like chicken that from egg or milk from cow and honey from bees and like that, what if the animal intention is not to give away that, and so won't it consider as we humans stealing from them? Because if like you harvest crops or from fruit or vegetable from tree or from land or nature, it does not belong to anyone, so it's not stealing. But like example, if I have money and I didn't willing to give anyone and someone steal from me, that is stealing. But if I willing to give them, that's not stealing. So in the case of animal, although it's not killing, where everyone say that okay, killing is karma, everyone accept this, but that has come to my thought that what if we take chicken from an egg or milk from the cow or honey from the bees, like that? What if the animal intention didn't want to give that, and we won't it consider as we humans steal from animal?
Such a long story, but what about at this moment? Is there any intention to take anything from anyone at this moment?
No, but what
so it can't be known. So when one is on the farm or one is with bees, it all depends on at that moment what the intention is. So now there's no intention to take, so it can't be known. But if one has a long story about how because the bee doesn't really want to give it and one does this and it, but it all comes down to the intention at that moment, just like the intention at this moment.
No, I understand what you're trying to say, like maybe a farmer and all that, they're taking away. But animal can't speak to us. Animal can't say, oh, I'm not giving it to you. But we humans just take it anyway. So but because it had to really come to the intention, what is supposed to belong to, like, supposed to understand, right? Like, I have money and all that, although it's just a thinking, but it's supposed that owner. In the same way, when we talk about egg or milk or honey and all that, although it's just a suppose, but it's belong to what suppose as bee or cow or chicken. If I go harvest an apple from the tree or from nature, whatever fruit, vegetable, that didn't suppose that belong to anyone, so it's not stealing. But what we humans take it anyway. We didn't even animal maybe didn't have intention to give, and if it does not have it intention to give, it has to be stealing, right? It has to be true to the reality, because it's already done. Human already doing that.
If you go and okay, 1 minute, go and get some honey from a bee farm. would you be stealing from the farmer or from the bee?
Bee.
No, from the farmer.
No. If suppose, let's say that I go somewhere which the tree of a beehive didn't belong to person. Let's say middle of jungle, just for example. Just
no,
saying.
but
Wait.
From
Yeah, I can understand this would be the argument of the vegan people who don't want to have any part of any animal product. And they are no doubt, it's a rationalization for that view. But my comment would be, if on strictly Dhamma terms, if that was an issue, the Buddha would have mentioned it when he spoke about, for example, the advantages or disadvantages of being a farmer or this and that occupation, but he never did. And there's no instance in the suttas of taking what is not given being associated with taking animal products.
Because you killing everyone can they understand, they agree that is wrong, right? But if this we have to be such to reality. What if suppose I'm a bee and I didn't want to give human honeys and I took it away?
Haji, may I ask, what is a cow?
It's just a kingpin.
Do you know what is it? In reality,
is Chitta and Chetasika, no person, human.
Seeing is seeing. Is seeing a cow or seeing is seeing. So we are talking about realities that can be known now because whatever appears is there to understand its truth when we know more about it. That's all, no matter what subject. Whatever you think about, would like to understand, remember, what is it? By then you know that you can understand the truth, no matter what.
But you guys get my intention, right? What I'm trying to say.
No, I just would like to understand the absolute truth, because what is the best thing to know?
The truth. Chan cannot hear you.
Right? What is a cow? Seeing? Is seeing a cow? So I'd like to understand what is there now. Like seeing is seeing. Attachment is attachment. No matter it's a fish, a cow, a cat, a chicken. And the truth is that actually there's no one at all, no permanent reality. When it's there, it's conditioned to just arise and be there, that's all. And that can be understood, developing understanding of the truth of what is appearing now, little by little. Otherwise, we keep on thinking about other things, and it is accumulated to think about that again and again and again. And not thinking about seeing right now as a self. See, no conditions, not enough conditions to understand it. And when we keep on talking about other things, there will not be the moment of understanding it as it is not self. Each moment is very valuable. At moment of understanding is so very precious. because it's not easy to experience it as it is without the words of the Buddha and moment to think and consider the truth more and more. Even that which is now appearing is not known. What about the other thing that we're talking about? It does not appear now yet, see? So what is now appearing can be object of understanding. Intellectual understanding or direct understanding and experiencing the truth, penetrate the truth. It's now arising and falling away all the time. But it's not known because Panya is not strong enough. It clings to the other thing which follows this moment instantly.
And Haji, now there's seeing, now there's thinking, getting agitated about what is thinking, for example. So understanding now of thinking as reality or agitation as reality is more precious than working out the story and whether it should be this or that or what would happen to the cow or the bee or whatever. So it comes back to what appears right now at the moment of thinking. Yes. We think it's so important to get the right answer to the right question that we thought so much about. But what about at this moment of being disturbed or thinking or not getting the answer we want? What about understanding right now at that moment? So it always has to come back to this moment. And that's why the Dhamma is so very precious, because it's always about now. Sita, the other day you asked me, and it was just very briefly, maybe the end of a discussion about Bhava and Bhava Tanha and Bhavasava and Bhava and Paticca Samuppada, and I just gave a very one-line answer. So it is the same Bhava, meaning becoming. So Bhavasava is the very subtle clinging to being or existing. And when we read about Bhava in Paticca Samuppada, when we read about how clinging conditions Bhava, it's referring to the clinging which is strong enough that it conditions karma, which will bring its result by way of becoming, by way of birth. So in the context of Paticca Samuppada, the Bhava is referring to the karma conditioned by that strong clinging and the result of that karma, the birth in next life. So it's the clinging now which conditions karma now that can bring result in future. So that is, it's the same word, but it is emphasizing the aspect of karma that will bring its result.
Yes, thank you. I do remember asking that, and I think then I came up with the Gilesa, Kama, and Vipaka. But yes, thanks you for the clarification, Sarah.
Yes, so when we read about ignorance conditioning Sankara, that is referring to karma in the past that conditioned the birth and so on in this lifetime. But when we read about the clinging, it is now, the clinging now, which conditions karma that can bring result in future. So that is the Bhava.
Okay, so you're saying that the clinging is the Bhava?
No, the clinging, if it is strong enough, if, for example, if the clinging is strong enough that it conditions stealing or some other behavior with the sufficient conditions, the karma it conditions is the Bhava. The Bhava refers to the karma that will bring the result by way of birth in future.
Okay, thank you.
So it's used in a particular way in Paticca Samuppada.
In Paticca Samuppada, according to the word bhava, there are two meanings. The first one refers to karma. So bhava, that is karma bhava, and the other one is uppati bhava, means birth.
Okay, well, thank you, Ajahn. I think they're two words that are new to me.
And I also have a question on bhava. When it talks about three kinds of bhava, karma bhava, karma tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. What is the meaning of vibhava tanha?
Vibhava or bhava, kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. Three kinds. Kama is just sensuous object, kama bhava, and bhava means the wrong understanding which think that life is permanent. And the other one, vibhava, means ucheda ditti. The bhava is satsata ditti.
So both bhava tanha and vibhava tanha
Wrong understanding.
Okay.
And that's the meaning of pariyatti, means very well versed and understanding of the truth at level of intellectual understanding, but no doubt about the meaning of the words. It conforms the other words because they are all the truth, absolute truth. Taught in different ways, aspects, that's all. So we have to study each word, what part of the Tipika, or what topic or subject. So when we talk about the three tanha, it must be kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. Tanha without wrong understanding, and tanha with wrong understanding, two different wrong understanding.
And earlier you talked about upati bhava. Could you please say more about it?
It means birth, chati, which brings the later paticca samuppada. Past life, present life, and future life. It means that there cannot be just this life, there must be past and future as well, by conditions.
And upati, I think it's also used in a different context, right? So what is the meaning of upati?
Birth.
Birth? Okay.
Just arise by condition, like upattuva, accident. In Thai, we use the same word, upatet. Just happen by conditions or karma.
And when talking about upati and nipati, is there any relationship with that?
Nipati is after birth. Upati is the moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Unavoidable.
According to what I'm looking at the moment, it's upapati bhava. Not upati, upapati.
Upapati. Okay.
Yeah. UPA.
The Thai use Pali term, but they don't pronounce according to the way it is in Pali. That's why, like Dhamma, the Thai use the word Dhamma.
Sawadee krap, Ajahn. What about Upati Bhava and Kama Bhava? You said Upati Bhava is when it's like seeing, and Kama Bhava is it? What is the difference between the two? Can you say more about it?
Because you see that it's tanha, lopa, right? And when it's not strong, not upadana, but when it's strong, it has to be stronger when it is kamma. The deed has been done, kamma bhava, which will condition the upati bhava, right? Two meanings of the word bhava in Paticcasamuppada. Kamma bhava, upati bhava. The relation between this life and next life. In this life, so many moments of tanha and so many moments of upadana and moments of kamma as well. And when it's kamma bhava, it conditions upati bhava for next life, for chati and all which follows until death of next life. On and on and on.
It's the Upati Bhava is the result of Kama Bhava. Two different moments of
many moments in between. When the tanha is upadana, not kamma yet, and when it's kamma bhava will condition upati bhava of next life. Chati and soka and parideva and so on, like this life.
Right.
That's why the bhava in Paticcasamuppada refers to both the karma in this life and the birth in next life or in future.
So when talking about the 5 pairs of consciousness as upati and all the other chittas at nipati, what is the meaning of that?
Can this life goes on just only moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching?
Of course not.
So the rest comes from these.
Seeing just sees, but then it's followed by all the other cheetahs in the process and the mind or cheetahs that think about it. So just seeing is referred to as the upapati, and then the others all as nipati.
So Sarah, nipati also refers to the santirana, sampatichana, and
yes.
Okay.
Every other cheetah that follows after seeing. So it's like seeing is like the birth for all the other cheetahs that follow after it. No seeing, there would not be the sampatichana, santirana, and all the other cheetahs following. Alan, did you have anything you'd like to bring up today? So we don't have much time left.
Hi there. I've got a very unstable internet connection, so I may disappear at any time. Yeah, I would just like to ask Ajahn Sujin. About 2 weeks ago, she said that it's only through listening to the Buddha's teachings that you can understand the present moment, or rather describe the present moment correctly, so that everybody else, science or psychologists or anybody else, cannot describe the present moment according to truth. So could she perhaps explain where everybody else will go wrong in describing the present moment?
Does a scientist talk about santirana, sampatichana, votapana?
No.
See, this is what I mean. And the characteristic, which is the absolute truth, no self. Does any scientist talk about this? No, nothing at all. And the arising and falling away in succession so very rapidly, uncountable moment at moment of seeing and thinking about different things seems at the same time.
Yes, that's true, yes. It'll always be something that they describe for, like face or arms or legs.
Right.
Yes, okay, that's what you mean. That, but I find that was a very powerful statement, because many people think that they can understand the present moment without the teachings of the Buddha, but actually that's not the case at all.
Impossible.
Yes, I find that very powerful still, even though it was 2 weeks old. It's a very powerful statement. Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask. Maybe the meaning of alone, we hear the word alone in the teachings. What does it mean to be alone?
When there is no one, what is there?
Just a reality?
As it is. No one there at all when the characteristic of a reality appears as it is.
And the Buddha said that when there is attachment, that's like not being alone. What does that mean? So when we have attachment, we're not alone.
Who's your friend all the time, in a day, or most of the time in a day, go with you everywhere. At moment of seeing, then that he or she is that reality, your dear friend, dear enemy,
the moment of attachment is there all the time as your
As a
friend.
friend, very close wherever you are. See, wherever you are, it's there with you.
And that friend is the enemy because it's
Harms unknowingly, hurts all the time, at moment of wishing, craving, dreaming. Now, too. So close.
So your friend is the bad friend most of the time.
Yeah.
More of like an enemy than a friend.
Yeah.
Sorry?
More of like an enemy rather than a friend. Friends is
Yes.
kusala.
So we take our friends, but they're enemies.
Friend indicates that it is with you all the time, most of the time. Always with you. Never leave you alone. Keep company with you. Go together. After seeing, it's there. After hearing, it's there. See?
But Ajahn, I do understand what do you mean by friend, but every akusala is an enemy because it's harm.
So close to you, be with you almost all the time, no matter where. Keep company with you. Never leave you alone.
Actually, yeah, all the time, bad friend. Okay, we can use this. After some time, you have kusala, like then it's a good friend. Help.
And the good friend is Kenya.
The most good friend is Panya, and the first and the most Kalayanimit is Buddha.
So listen to his words. Not just to remember, but to understand the meaning of each word. What are your enemies?
All kilesa, and the worst is wrong will.
Far away or
No,
very close?
or very close inside.
Do you like them?
Attachment and ignorance like them. But Panya know that is harmful.
Zhao from Vietnam, Mr. Zhao. I don't know if you can follow or if there's anything you would like to ask.
Ajahn, and good afternoon, everybody here. So maybe I don't have any question today, but I very impressed with the Dhamma talk between Sujin and his son, because I really interesting about father can say anything with his son. So that is very interesting today. And maybe because I just seen Tanya, so I remember the question about the why Virati and Shanti have the same Chetasika. So sometimes I think I firm believe to understand about this, but sometimes I'm not sure. So maybe, Sarah, can you say further about this? And I remember one time Ajahn said about the try to open the something, we try to open the bottle. But when there's something difficult, we more try. And how about Kanti? When we said about the live idea of self, so we need more Kanti. So as I think, sometimes I doubt about this because maybe okay, I just finish here because I'm not sure I can explain exactly. So did you understand what I said? Sorry.
I think that to bring up a son, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of kusala kanti, to really keep cool, keep calm, and to bring up a son, especially to have interest in the Dhamma. And virya arises with almost every citta, and it energizes the citta and the other cetasikas. And it manifests as forbearing, as being patient, but only when it's strong, the characteristic of patience can appear, can be known. And usually that patience is akusala patience, like we wait a long time in the queue, or our son is naughty and we keep quiet. Mostly it's akusala virya. But when there is more understanding of dharmas, when there's more understanding that whatever arises has fallen away instantly, it's a condition for more kanti, for more kusala kanti, because whatever appears has to be that way. Like Nina said at the beginning, usually there's so many expectations of how life will go, but even this moment of seeing, or this moment of hearing, or this moment of thinking is not as we would expect, because each moment, each reality is conditioned. It ages, it falls away unexpectedly. So understanding conditions more patience with whatever is conditioned at this moment, but very slowly, very gradually. And it's quite different from the conventional idea of patience. Like we might say how great that Sukhin is so patient with his son. But actually, kusala patience is just for a moment. And most of the time, it's akusala patience. So it's the way that the virya shows up or appears or manifests in daily life, but only when it's strong can it be known. So when someone is very patient in the kitchen, we say, oh, it's so much patience. But actually there is virya at almost every moment. But patience doesn't always appear, whether wholesome or unwholesome.
Sarah, I have one more question. I heard actually I was listening to Ajahn about clinging that in Thai Dhamma videos like section. I have listening about clinging to wrong view. Like some people who have wrong view but doesn't cling to that wrong view can change their opinion. Like they can, like some person who are very religious like that because they're clinging to the wrong view, but someone else when they hear Dhamma and right word, they can change because although they have wrong view, but does not cling to that wrong view. So wrong view, I was thinking, you know, right, Devadat, although it's not the wrong view, but his jealousy toward Buddha is what prevent the panya from arising. So I'm thinking that can clinging to wrong view maybe prevent panya from arising, even because
definitely that's why wrong view is the biggest hindrance or obstacle. And we can say even when there's that strong clinging to the wrong views, like a kind of stubborn clinging, not listening to the truth, there is virya, and there is almost like a patience at that moment, but it's strong akusala patience with that clinging to wrong view at those times. So the stronger the clinging, the harder it is to listen to what is right.
Yeah, because I like heard from the Ajahn, the Thai section. Ajahn said that some people who can change, although have wrong view before, but does not cling to that view. But someone who cling it very strongly, nobody can change them.
They cannot listen at all.
Like three kind of michati, niyata, michati, not even the Buddha can help. I have heard somewhere that I think like in the case of Devadat, although it's not the wrong view, but because it's so strong jealousy toward Buddha, it prevent the panya from arising. So I'm just thinking wrong view could be the what prevent panya also, right?
Right. Wrong view is the greatest obstacle, because at those moments of wrong view, it thinks it's right, it's convinced it's right, it's sure it's right. There's very strong energy, strong conviction that it is right. So it cannot listen to anything else at those times.
Although,
but who knows in future? Yes.
Although some may have accumulated right view, but maybe in suppose certain life they have cling so strong to wrong view and have heard the Dhamma and still didn't understand, because wrong view is what prevent the panya rising. That can happen, right?
And who knows about conditions in future, like the Bodhisattva's Jotipala, he heard all kinds of wrong view and had some misunderstanding because of the way he was brought up, but later there can be right view. We don't know. Who knows? We are not the Buddha, we cannot know. So it may seem like someone has such strong wrong view, but conditions can change, we don't know. And instead of thinking or being concerned about others, what about now? What about at this moment? Even during a Dhamma discussion, there can be clinging to wrong views, like convinced that taking from the bees is some kind of stealing and not really listening to what is we hear about this moment. So even in a discussion, wrong view can arise anytime. So
actually,
when we know how difficult it is for wrong view to be eradicated, we know it's like that for everyone. So instead of thinking about who has wrong view, what about wrong view at this moment when it appears, when it arises? So it's always back to this moment, instead of just thinking about the world and what other people think. What about now? What appears now? Thanks, Haji. Good to hear your points. And also, Zhao, thank you for your comment and question. Very impressive that you can listen so well to the deep discussion in English. Anything else you would like to add, or any other comments? Mr. Zhao?
And can you say some short point about why the actors and patients have a same cetasika? Just further some point about this. Did you understand what I mean? Did you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes. I think it's just that patience is an aspect, like a manifestation of virya. Virya we often translate as effort or energy, but the translation never is the really deep meaning. So we have to consider when virya arises, how it arises with almost every citta, except for the most of the ahetuka cittas, and when there is patience. So we think of patience when there is kusala cittas, but also when there are akusala cittas, there is patience. So it's an aspect of virya, a way that it manifests.
So you mentioned the example that Ajahn gave of the person who wants to do a job that is difficult to do. They know it's going to take a long time. So it requires not only strength, which is one aspect of virya, but patience, because it has to be approached with a long-term view. Because no matter how much strength you have, some things cannot be done just by strength alone. So they need the right approach as well. So patience is the same mental factor. What they have in common is endurance, enduring, or strength of some kind.
For example, the beekeeper to look after his bees. I have friends who are beekeepers in Australia. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of patience because all the conditions have to be just right. So it takes a lot of care, a lot of effort, a lot of patience. So together, the effort and the patience, actually it's the same reality.
So we say that the energy and the patience are actually the same.
Yes, patience, kanti, is actually virya cetasika. There is no kanti cetasika. But sometimes, like when we're talking about the paramis, we refer to kanti parami separately because it's emphasizing that aspect of forbearance, putting up with whatever is conditioned at this moment with understanding. So in order to develop understanding of the realities appearing at this moment, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of kanti, a lot of forbearance. Because
like
whatever appears now,
like
has to be that way.
Now have to have patience in listening Dhamma, right?
Yes. In order to develop understanding, there has to be listening, and that takes patience. Not always easy. So not only do fathers have to have patience with their sons, sons have to have patience with their fathers and with their friends as well. So the developing understanding of the truth takes a lot of patience.
But if we talk about patience in this way, we should mean kusala patience with panya, because then it's a kusala, right?
Yes.
Anything that's a long-term project requires patience because it cannot be achieved quickly.
But good patience, not bad patience.
Yes.
It depends. If we're talking about the patience to look after the bees, it's not kusala patience, but the patience to understand the truth of this moment.
Attachment
takes a lot of kusala patience. And this is the kanti parami, the patience developed with understanding. It's just a couple of moments only, so I don't know if Ajahn would like to add anything or have any.
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. See you all next time. Bye-bye. Sawadika.
Sadhu.